So in order to stay motivated, I have to stay self-aware and, aware of those limiting beliefs in my subconscious mind that try to stop me.
Good morning and welcome to In the Know with KO. I'm your host, Kristen Adams, also known as KO. Today, I have a super special guest that I am so excited to join us today via Zoom, all the way from Tennessee, y'all. Hence, my beautiful cowboy hat that I brought with me that I can't wear because I have headphones on, but it's here in the studio. This young lady's name is Kayla Kuecha, and I am really super pumped up to have her on because although she's a young adult in her early 20s, she is a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I love talking with her because I may be 48, about to turn 49, but I'm friends with her mom, but now I'm friends with her too, and it's so awesome. So let me just also explain, like I said, I'm friends with her mom, and that was how I met Kayla. And she is your go-to virtual assistant. And matter of fact, that's her name, KK, your virtual VA. She's a certified yoga instructor and a professional musician. She's actually a lead vocalist. So don't be surprised if you see her and hear her in the music world, specifically, I think, in country. That's, personal favorite. And I could see that for you, Miss Kayla. So without further ado, I would like to jump into some rapid fire. Kayla, are you ready?
I'm ready, girlfriend.
Awesome. All right. So early bird or night owl?
Early bird,
Music or silence?
both.
Ah, okay. Sunflowers or roses?
Sunflowers.
Country music or pop?
Pop.
Ah! Okay, that one could have gone either way because of your talent. So, and last is coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Hey, all right, there you go. I always love doing rapid fire because I learn something new about everybody. Like just when I think I know, I'm like, oh, I know what they're gonna say. But as I mentioned in the intro, Kayla, you are so impressive. I hope you don't mind me sharing. At the age of 23, most young adults are still trying to figure out what they want to be in life and what they want to do, and you're already doing it. It's amazing. I mean, like, you're not just doing it, but you're like taking charge of it. You're owning it. Like no one is holding your hand through this process. You are going after it, whether it's having your own businesses, or putting yourself out there in the music industry. I mean, just seeing you do all of this, it's so impressive. With that said, when you were a little kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I always knew I wanted to be a singer. From the time High School Musical came out, you can ask my mom, that was my jam.
I totally
It
remember
sparked
that.
something in me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh, I remember High School Musical. That was actually, like, a really great movie, and I remember watching it over and over with my son, who is only a year older than you, so, yeah, which is
yeah.
crazy. Uh, and with that said, Kayla, I love how you go against what society says as far as, like, what you should be doing right now and how you should be doing it, and I personally admire your discipline and the clarity that you have despite societal pressures. Do you see that in yourself?
Yeah, the journey isn't linear and there's bumps all the time. And I think that's just it, like embracing all of it. But we're in a really cool era right now where, and this is kind of why I built my business, where technology is just, it is like the portal to your dreams. You can make anything happen with your iPhone if you monetize it correctly. Same goes for music. So, it's just like things are changing so quickly,
Yeah,
right? And
that's true. There's opportunities out there, but you're right. We have to know how to pivot and kind of, go with the change and tide, right? Like you have to be willing to adjust accordingly. And I think that some businesses have really thrived because they've totally grasped the concept of change and geared towards what is going well in society or in the world. And then there's others who have ended up closing their doors because they just didn't get on the wagon fast enough, right?
yeah, I think it's just embracing the change and not fearing it, like going with where the world is headed. It's crazy times, especially
Yeah.
to use ChatGPT.
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it's insane, but
I use it
yeah.
sometimes, but at the same time, I still want things to be authentic and my language, you know? I mean, like, I don't wanna I don't wanna stop forgetting how to think, and
So true.
I don't wanna lose the ability to be imaginative and creative, you know? And I feel like, even with my kids, I'm like, please don't lean on that as your only source of gaining knowledge or answering something, like if you need some general information or guidelines, get the guidelines, but still fill in the blanks with your own influence from yourself, right? Like I think that's
That's
kind
so
of
true.
so
Yeah.
you and I are both members of a unique club, Kayla. We are part of the GED club, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a whole other episode for you guys about how that ended up happening for Kayla and myself. But here's the thing, as you said, you have to pivot and embrace the change and embrace what is going on in your life. And I love the way we both kind of did that. We both used that opportunity to get our diplomas a little unconventionally for unconventional reasons. But Kayla, for you specifically, how were you able to build a successful career without being on a traditional path?
Okay, so I think when I got my GED and I was on the different trajectory than everyone else, like, I did not know how to embrace that. I guess, like, embracing is the word of the podcast today. That's the theme because I I was so afraid to show up as who I was, my authentic self, and it wasn't until I had the courage to fully step into who I was, that everything just started opening up for me.
Mhm.
So, not getting a traditional education, and I started working very young. Like, as soon as I graduated at 16, I was working at Chipotle, and I haven't stopped working since.
Same with
But
me. Same with me. I didn't work at Chipotle, but I started at 17. I ended up withdrawing from high school, getting my GED, and had to figure it out. And, a lot of lessons were learned the hard way, but that's what worked for me in my path. I don't know about you. I mean, I don't necessarily recommend that to people, right? But I let people know that if that ends up being part of your journey, you can still be successful. You got to put in the work, right? But you can still be super successful.
yeah, uh, there's almost like there's almost a little bit of an advantage when you're not following as humans, we have this inherent herd mentality. We want to do what everybody else is doing. And for the longest
Mm.
time, I was so ashamed that I didn't have a college degree. And I felt like that didn't validate what I wanted to do. But I think that's why we live in such an amazing time of technology because everything we need is right at our fingertips.
Yeah.
I'm also an avid reader, and even though I finished high school at 16, like, I never stopped educating myself. I never stopped being in the know, like Co.
Hey, I love it. I love it. See, now
Yeah.
that's exactly what I have been also encouraging with my kids. And I love that we're using the word embrace. I want my kids to embrace who they are as humans. And I told them, whether you go to college or not, I am not going to be any more or less proud of you. I want to know who you are as a human being, right? What are you bringing to the world? And the fact that I see my kids growing into being amazing humans just the way that you have, right? I That's what makes me proud. That piece of paper doesn't define who you are. And I even find as a mom, I'm going to ask your mom about this next time I talk to her. But I find as a mom, it's even frustrating that there's these pressures, like, oh, which college is your kid enrolling in? And listen, that's great. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your kids, but don't make me feel like I'm less than a parent or my kid is less than a kid if they're not going to, an Ivy League school or getting some massive scholarship somewhere. If they do, wonderful. If they don't,
Mm.
it's also wonderful. I mean, I'm also a living testament with a high school GED and no college education. I not only had one successful career, but I'm actually, in what I call my second career. I've already been there, done it for almost 20 years in hospitality management. And now we're entrepreneurs with our own businesses, and I've had nonprofits you know, and now I get to contribute in different ways. So, Kayla, your story is very relatable, and I see a lot of myself in you. And it's refreshing to see a young woman forging her own path, and you're very self-motivated, and I would love to know Where does that come from?
It You ever heard of the term "you're 5 to 9 before you're 9 to 5"? That's
No, no, but I wanna hear about that now. Let's let people be in the know with KO and in the yay with KK.
Yeah, so it is my morning routine for sure. I think it's just routine and rituals, period. That's how my brain works. I need that. So in order to stay motivated, I have to stay self-aware and, aware of those limiting beliefs in my subconscious mind that try to stop me because every time I don't know about you, but for me, every time there's a big goal and it feels like it's outside of myself, I can't reach it. I know I have that desire for a reason. God put that desire in me for a reason. It's meant to be fulfilled. So I think one of the greatest strengths we have as humans is being able to identify and recognize all the beliefs that are trying to stop us because our fear minds are primitive. So it's the regulating of my nervous system, it's going to yoga, it's meditating, it's journaling, and seeing what comes up and what kind of blocks are trying to stop me. And as long as I stay consistent with that, I know, okay, like, if I am an extension of God, and God is in me, and God is everything, then I am everything. That means I'm capable of anything that I set my mind to.
See what I mean,
So
everyone? See what I mean? She is not your average 23-year-old. You have already like, when I was your age, I mean, I was newly married. I was a year away from having my first kid. I was having to figure things out the hard way. And I'm not saying that you haven't done that, Kayla, but I just think that the way that you like you said, you've taken challenges, you've embraced the different moments that forced you to pivot, and you've learned from them, but you've also figured out how to make that part of who you are. And, you know, I always say God doesn't make mistakes, right? There's a perfect design for each and every one of us. And I also love that you've harnessed that. And I love I would love for you to share a little bit more about your 5 to 9, 9 to 5 theory.
okay. So a morning time for me, I feel like it's when my brain is just waking up and I can really condition my mind to, whatever I've got to take on for the day. And it's not like fear doesn't hit me every second of the day. If you're really conscious, the fear mind is always trying to stop you, like resistance telling you you shouldn't wake up in the morning to the alarm, go ahead and check your phone, go ahead and scroll. Like all the triggers are there. But for me personally, and some people, it's the evening or it's the middle of the day, whatever is your thing. I like to wake up first thing while I'm still kind of waking up in that groggy feeling, and it's immediately like, go get some sunshine, meditate, drink some water, take care of yourself, and that's the only way I feel like I can really serve is if I serve myself. And I think there's a really powerful energy of the morning time, watching the sunrise, like just kind of waking up with the sun. Um, I think that's natural to humans. So, and then I gig at night and I'm out really late. So I'm working on tweaking the night routine. But yeah, the 5 to 9 really helps me.
I love that, and I think that's so important to understand. So if we can bring people in the know about how that would work and how it can benefit their lives, it's never too late to implement discipline. So whether you're, a young kid, a teenager, young adult, old adult, this is the kind of thing that you can break the bad habits if you're trying to accomplish something in your life, whether it's mental health, physical health, both, reaching
Mhm.
career goals. I think whatever it is, I think you're right. The only way to really give yourself that running start to getting there is discipline. That's again something that you and I have in common. I'm very disciplined when it comes to routines and structures. My kids always know, like, this is, when they come home from school, we have structure. We have, this is the routine. This is what we're going to do. This is what I expect of you. This is what you can expect of me. And I also think that that structure, it's not just healthy for ourselves, but it's very healthy for anyone that we share a life with. And it can be
Mhm.
family, friends, coworkers, business partners. You know, Self discipline is important because it's what helps you to be prepared, it helps you to be timely, and it helps you to achieve those goals and to have measured success. I think that's incredible. And again, I don't mean to focus on your young age. I just really want to encourage listeners, if you are in your early 20s, you can get with the program and be super successful. And if you're a parent like me who has a kid in their early 20s, here's how you can support them. So I feel like this is kind of a double angled podcast today. And Kayla, watching you grow up has been so super fun because like I said, I've been friends with your mom for so many years, who I adore. Shout out to Kelly. Um,
Yes.
and your story is so inspiring that, like I said, I love that, other young adults and parents can listen, but I would love to highlight for people that you are part of a blended family. And I have a blended family. Again, we've got this commonality. How did being part of a blended family shape who you are?
Mm, goes back to that word embracing again. So embracing everything that I thought made me different. Uh, what was fun about that, which I'm sure you can relate to, we had 2 Christmases, 2 holidays in the same day, you go to each house, like, but I was very fortunate because my parents had a cordial divorce. Um, so, I've heard a lot of different stories, and I was really blessed in that regard. And, sometimes you got to do the thing that's best for your relationship. And now that I'm older, I understand that. But I have 2 amazing step siblings, my 2 stepbrothers, my stepfather. So I'm just incredibly blessed to have an even bigger family.
Yeah, and you do have a pretty cool stepdad. I mean, he's a
Oh
friend of
yeah,
ours as well, like, I mean, shout out to Cliff, right? He's so
he's
awesome.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to embrace when it comes to blended families, step families, and how those different relationships ebb and flow together, right? And this is something else we have in common. Your mom and I have always shared how my divorce from my son's dad was also very cordial. There was no attorneys, there was no fighting. It was something that we made a healthy decision, and we were able to continue to have a great relationship because we respected one another and we respected our son. And this is what worked out for us. I'm not saying this is not a commercial advertisement. Everybody should get divorced. Yippee! Have a blended family. No, that's not the case, because whether you stay together in your organic family or you have a step family, blended family, whatever that looks like, it's always going to be hard. It's always going to have challenges. And not all relationships are able to be salvaged either, right? I mean, whether it's the parents, the kids, whatever, the exes. I mean, no matter what, whether it's good or not good, we still have to figure out how to embrace it and how to make it work for us. And I think healthy boundaries are also a big part of that. I would definitely say that you guys have done an incredible job of being the modern day Brady Bunch, but on like such a cooler level. You got your parents and the kids. You guys are all way cooler.
Oh my God, thank you. And I loved the Brady Bunch as a kid.
I think everybody did. Every generation had some kind of love for the Brady Bunch, right? And we were always
Yeah.
fascinated. I don't know about you, but I was always fascinated with the Brady Bunch's house, like the big stairs, and that they had Alice, the housekeeper, in their kitchen, and like
Yeah.
having a station wagon. Like there were so many things that were so cool. But now I look back, I'm like, that was so dorky. Like what was
It's
that?
so cringy.
I know, I know. So I just want to talk about all the fun aspects of your life because, again, as an accomplished young adult, there's so many really cool things to share that I really hope listeners will be able to be in the know about. And I think a lot of people are interested in music in many different ways. I love that you're a musician and you're so talented. I love that when you're doing shows locally, we get to come and watch you. We saw you a couple
Ah,
months ago. It was so fun. Um,
yeah.
how did music enter your life, and who were your earliest influences?
Okay, so music, entered my life. It was probably the High School Musical era. I was like 6 years old, and I was always in musical theater and in plays. And I remember the moment that the spotlight was on me and I had my solo. I think it was an Annie. Um, and I just had this unshakable feeling of this is why I am here. I need to do this. And I was a young kid and I just never stopped. I never stopped going to karaoke bars when I was a little girl. And, then I started posting videos on YouTube, which I think embarrassingly are still up. I can't figure out the password.
I'm totally gonna
Uh,
search those later, by the way, now that you
ah,
put it out there.
Yeah, I was just always so committed, and of course I still am, but I manifested this beautiful career where I'm gigging. Well, I'm kind of starting from square one in Nashville, but I feel so inspired in that space. That was the next step that I really needed to take, and that's all still unfolding for me, and it's beautiful to witness. Um, but yeah, writing goes with it too, and yoga, like all of it, kind of are the pillars of my life. They all work together. Like the breath work fuels my singing. Diaphragmatic support is good for public speaking too, which helps your confidence. So it's just simply who I am. Like
Yeah. I think
whenever
being an artist kind of you need there's multifacets in being an artist. I have several very good friends and family members who are in the arts and in different ways, right? Dance, theater, voice, all these different things. And I see that. I see how there's so many different components of their life and you know, and your musical style is so unique. You have that old soul sound. It's like and then it somehow blends into a completely unique sound. It's very impressive, and I'm going to make sure that we share the links on how people can hear about you and know about you. And here's another relatable story. One of my first moments in theater, it was not professional. It was amateur through a dance studio that I was at. We also did our own rendition of Annie. And
oh,
here's a big in the know with KO moment that I hope somebody will also embrace. Okay, so looking back, this is how something helped shape who I am, the same way that shaped who you are now. When I was like 12 years old, there were auditions for Annie at our studio, and I was so excited. I tried out for multiple parts, and I didn't get any. I didn't get any dancing parts. I didn't get any singing parts. I got nada. And I was so bummed, like nothing. I'm like, ugh, this is so, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm so, like, I was almost embarrassed. Like, my friends were getting all these fancy parts, and I got nothing. Well, long story
mm,
short, I was invited to be a special part of the entire musical, and the director of our studio invited me to be the narrator and explained to my parents and I that Kristen is a very well spoken young girl. She speaks so eloquently, she speaks so clearly. I don't know what the exact words were that they used, but it was something like that. That was the
mhm.
first time someone recognized my ability to speak, and that translated into many years of public speaking, whether it was with press releases or teaching classes, leading seminars in the hospitality industry, representing large companies that would cooperate with the hotels that I worked for. There were all these different platforms that ended up being one of the most valuable traits that I possessed. And I was invited to stand at the podium for really important things that I don't know if I ever would have done or had the fortitude from within to do had someone not recognized that gift in me. So I love that you learned this about yourself through dance, through theater, through voice. Like there was a specific channel and now you've harnessed it into something where you are making your dreams come true, Kayla.
Oh, it's so true. Oh, thank you so much. I think it's so good for kids to be in the arts. This is why it's so important because it's not just the arts. Like it correlates to every aspect of your life. And I think confidence is the biggest breakthrough that I got from singing and being vulnerable on stage, and you got to be confident to run a business, to be the face of your business. It
Yeah.
all plays together.
You're right. You know what? Those are really great points to be in the know about today, Kayla. We have so many in the know moments going on here. Like, I hope listeners are taking notes, right? Like, okay,
Yes.
old school. Here comes the 48-year-old self saying, take notes. But you know what? You're right. And I can't even tell you how many times I look back in my life and I'm like, wow, there were so many huge lessons to learn. I mean, it's incredible. And there are a lot of influences in our lives. You're correct about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
it's not just moments, but it's people and it's what we do with them. And I think you've learned a lot about yourself through those different paths. And I think it's really awesome the way that you are able to influence other people, both young and old, because I'm influenced by you and I'm about to turn 49. I mean, so I think that's really great. You're so interchangeable into different generations. What do you think older generations misunderstand about your generation?
Okay, so I think there's this thing that happens with the generation ahead of us where it's like, "Oh, the younger generation is doing this and it's so bad." Like, think about rock and roll in the '50s with Elvis, like, it was the devil's music.
That's
And
true.
now rock and roll is the foundation of all music. So I would say today, I think it has to do with the technology, the AI thing, and just learning to work with it and embrace it because that's where our world is headed. Now, I don't know what it's going to be like to raise kids in the technology era and social media, but that's a whole different conversation.
It's awful. I'll tell you straight out, it's awful. It's hard. I say it's awful.
Yeah.
You know what? It's awful because it's scary. It's not awful for the fun stuff, right? Like funny videos, you know, creating little memes and all that fun, the communication, the ability to share things in live time. Like there's a lot of really fun stuff. I think for sure. But there's also some pretty scary stuff. And knowing that my kids have access to the entire world, and more importantly, the world has access to them. That is the awful part. I mean, so I think that there's a lot of things that parents need to make sure that they're in the know about. And maybe that'll be another podcast episode on how to protect your kids and yourself with social media and the world and technology, right?
I think that's why we have to embrace it and not like, I think being in the know as a parent, knowing how these systems work so that you know how to support your child, like, I think that's very empowering
Yeah.
instead of fearing it and saying, "Well, that's BS. I don't need to learn it. Like, it's so bad." I
Oh,
think
yeah,
we've got to
totally.
embrace it. We've got to learn it, and in learning it, we protect our kids.
You're right, totally. I mean,
I'm talking like I have kids.
but that's okay. That's okay. Honestly, I think, you're going to be well prepared, but I think it also has to do with how your parents raised you. Like you didn't
Mm.
I don't think you're going to necessarily have to learn the hard way. I think your parents gave you a different fundamental foundation, and whether we learn the hard way or we have that foundation, I think both options are good, and maybe even a little bit of both. My kids know I make no apologies, and I am not here to win the popular vote. I am here to raise you, guide you, love you, and protect you, and try to generate the best human beings possible. And, it goes all the way back to how you were even saying how, being a part of the arts is such an important piece of our human development. You could not be more correct. And I remember when my oldest was in elementary school and there were budget cuts at his school. There was budget cuts in the whole county, and they had a huge parent meeting, and I was one of the first parents to stand up and raise my hand and say, you can't take this out of the program. First of all, some kids come to school just for this because it's their one thing that they love, whether it's, playing a saxophone or drawing pictures or singing, like whatever it is, you can't take that away. That's number one. Number two, it helps develop different parts of the brain. And like you said, also on the third point, it builds confidence. And whether you want to be a professional singer or you're just learning how to speak correctly and stage presence, it's all relative. All those years I
Mhm.
spent in the dance studio, honestly, Kayla, I never aspired to be a dancer. But you know what? I made friends. I remained healthy. I built my confidence, and it ended up turning into a gift that actually had to do more with speaking than dancing. So,
Mhm.
and even with the arts, I fought for the fact that, I said, how many of you drove a car here? Well, don't you think somebody had to draw the design for that and somebody had to, you know, give that to an engineer so that they could create that automobile? And how many billboards and signs did you pass on the way here? All of those were designed by artists. So how are you going to pull the plug on someone's potential future? And guess what? I don't know if it was just because of me, but I think that a lot of the parents were upset. They didn't take that budget cut, and the kids got to keep their programs. Thank goodness, right?
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. You're
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you for those who couldn't see. If you're just listening, she did give me an applause. That was awesome. Thank you for that. Kayla, you're really such a special human being, and I just want you to know that from my heart. I think that the world of you through our family connections, through your mom, but I love following your journey, and I'm excited to share how people can follow you as well and connect with you, whether they need a top notch experienced virtual assistant, or they're interested in yoga and wellness, or they are looking to hire you as the lead singer of a band, or they have a country connection. There's so many ways, so many awesome ways that they can love you and support you, and keep honoring your voice and your journey, Kayla. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Kristen. It's such an honor. I appreciate you.
For sure. And I want to thank everybody for listening. It's always a pleasure to bring on new guests. Don't forget to give your feedback, like, share, comment, and stay in the know with KO. Thank you.